Disclaimer, Chaz's Sound Test is a non-profit podcast. I don't own any of the music on this show. It's just for fun. I just want to share my love of music, specifically video game music, with all of you guys. Please like, subscribe, don't flag, enjoy the show. Deuces. Oh no. Yes, believe it or not, Sound Test is not dead. Don't believe the rumors. But I don't think there were any rumors. I don't think anyone was actually saying that. Yeah, but it's still here. Sound Test is back after about, I want to say March was the last episode. It's August now, but even probably it won't be August when this comes out. I don't know. I'm going to try to get it out more often. I'm going to try to do more episodes of this. But yeah, welcome to Sound Test episode 16. A lot happened in gaming between now and the last episode. Let's see, E3 happened. I don't want to really go into that. Was so far back, I don't want to even go back to that now. But what else happened? Evo happened about, what was it, a week or two ago now? Yeah, that's a little bit more relevant. Evolution 2019, the biggest fighting game tournament of the year, happened. The tournament itself was fine. It's really more about the announcements. Let's talk about the announcements. This was a good year for announcements, actually. Tekken probably got the best new character of all time. Leroy, I was about to call him Jenkins. It's Leroy Smith, who's quite possibly the best black man in all the fighting games right now that I've ever seen in a fighting game. His design is fantastic. He's like Dolomite in a fighting game. It's pretty amazing. What else? Akatsuki Blitzkampf got referenced in BB Tag. Like not referenced, but the Akatsuki and the Blitz tank itself, the walking, rolling meme, is now a character in BB Tag. More Ruby characters are announced, well, specifically Neapolitan, but I've never actually watched Ruby. I've been told I need to watch Ruby because it's really good. I just haven't really got into it. I'm not even sure, is it like a web series, or I don't really know what Ruby is. I mean, I know it's a series, but like, I'm unsure of the format of it. I'm very confused. I need someone. I have a friend who's like super into Ruby, so I might just need to talk to him about it. Soul Calibur is getting a new patch, and like there's a lot of new characters getting announced for that game, and I apologize for my nasally voice right now. I've been going through, as allergies have been kicking my ass, but that's besides the point. Soul Calibur, Cassandra's back, big surprise, and Homaru got announced as a guest character. Homaru from Sam Show, who's basically the same guy as Mitsurugi. They're both based off of Musashi Miyamoto from the feudal era of Japan. He was this really intelligent swordsman who never lost a fight, and he grew really old, and he died from like some sort of disease or whatever. But both SNK and Namco Bandai based their main characters from their respective fighting games off of that guy, and now they're both in the same game. It's kind of funny. I imagine the two of them are in that Spider-Man meme where they're both pointing at each other. Like, hey, you're me, but you're me. Whatever. That was funny. There were other announcements. Well, obviously there were. A new Guilty Gear was announced, shown off, which was not really that surprising because literally last year it was alluded to, like, because the way ArcSys works is they're split into two teams as far as like their fighting game division is concerned. There's Team Red, which is the Guilty Gear Dragon Ball FighterZ crew. That's Team Red. And then there's Team Blue, which is the Blaze Blue team, basically. The mainline Blaze Blue and BB Tag, that's them. That's all them. So both groups have like pretty much a lot going on their plate right now. But I'll link maybe I'll link it. Probably won't. But look up new Guilty. For everyone who didn't watch Evolution 2019, just go on YouTube and look up new Guilty Gear or just like Guilty Gear 2019 trailer. It's probably the most gorgeous 2D fighting game that's ever been made ever. I said that about Exerd like back in 2014, and it was. But somehow they topped themselves, and I find that fascinating and insane in itself. Like, I don't know how they're pushing like 2D to new heights. Like, I love 3D. Don't get me wrong, I like the visuals in 3D fighting games, but like, my heart's always gonna be with 2D fighting games, like forever. Like that's what I grew up on. That's what I prefer. I've always preferred sprites over 3D models. But if you can find that perfect balance, which Guilty Gear seems to have done, like ArcSys seem to have done, like, good on you for that. Even though like SNK kind of had that with KOF King of Fighters 13, because before Exerd came out, I would have said that KOF 13 was the best looking 2D fighting game ever, and it was. Even though some of the backgrounds in KOF 13 were very creepy and disturbing looking, but it was visually it looked amazing. But the sprites were awesome, but the backgrounds were kind of. But a new Guilty Gear is happening. I'm super excited about that. That's always been my favorite ArcSys franchise. I mean, like Blaze Blue's okay. I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I never really liked Blaze Blue until BB Tag came out. I like BB Tag because it's Mugen. It's just everything. It's anime Mugen, and I love crossovers like the next person. So that's why BB Tag won me over. And I love 2v2 fighting games too. So like that's kind of my thing as well. The two big announcements, at least for me, were Samurai Showdown getting a season 2, which I'm happy to see that because I thought that game was gonna die. I mean, like as much as I enjoy that game and as much as I love that franchise, I thought after Evolution 2019 and everyone just picking Genjiro and he just being the best character of all time, and he just obliterates everyone else. I figured the game was on its deathbed, and I'm glad it's not. And my favorite character, Shizumaru Hisame, is going to be in the last bit of the DLC characters for season 1. Yeah, it's not even the last bit. He's coming out in September, so next month. So I'll have a reason to play it again. And at the end of the Samurai Showdown trailer, showdown announcements, there was just a logo and a subtitle. KOF 15 exists. It's being worked on. King of Fighters 15 is a thing happening. I mean, we can also talk about the Street Fighter 5 announcements where E Honda and Lucia from Final Fight 3 got announced, and Who else is in it? Honda's back, Poison's back. I like the redesigns; they're great. But backtrack a little bit to King of Fighters. KOF 14. I really like KOF 14. Visually, it's not pretty. I understand like it's not an easy game to get into. KOF is hard. I'll admit that. Like KOF 14 is hard. I understand how to play it because I stuck with it for a really long time. I stuck with it ever since it came out in 2015. I think that's why I became decent at the game at least. 13, on the other hand, was also hard. Like in 14 is just a watered down version of 13 as far as like the mechanics are concerned. Because 13 was super hard. Like KOF 13 is like advanced calculus, and then 14 is just like kind of like basic calculus. It's like calculus 103 or whatever. But I hope that for 15, I just want 3 things in order for 15 to thrive and exist in a thriving environment. I think that I know a lot of people don't agree with this, but I think KOF 15 needs to be simpler to play. For more than anything, it needs to be easy, not super easy to play. More complex to learn it at a higher level, but like it needs to be simplified slightly. I know that that's a big taboo thing because a lot of people don't believe that fighting games need to be simplified in order for more people to get into it. But like I think it does. I mean, I disagree with like Maximilian and everybody else who says fighting games don't need to be simple. Like I think the best ones do need to be simple to a degree, like or have something that brings people to the game. Like Tekken and Street Fighter in Mortal Kombat already have the name recognition. Same thing with Smash Brothers. Well, Smash Brothers is kind of different. I'll get on that later. But like Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, and Tekken all have the name recognition because they were big franchises back in the 90s. So like that helps with the staying power. Like all those characters are iconic. Everybody knows who Ryu, Ken, and Chun-Li are. Everybody knows who Liu Kang and Scorpion and Sub-Zero are. Everybody knows like the Mishima family. They know Jin and Kazuya and Heihachi are. They know who Martial Law is. Like all those characters are like super synonymous with fighting games. We all know those characters. KOF and Sam Show, like pretty much the SNK franchises and the Arxis games like Guilty Gear and BlazBlue, they're well known in the fighting game community, but outside of the FGC, like casuals do not know who those characters are, like, and they're not going to. And like, so just what am I trying to say right now? Like, King of Fighters 15 needs to have, well, it already has like to a degree recognizable characters, but it just needs to be easier to play, and it needs to look good. Because as much as I love King of Fighters 14, it looked like it looked like a PS2 game in 2015. And so then, like, yeah, it just needs to not look like a game from 2 generations ago. Like it looked on par with KOF Maximum Impact, and that is a PS2 game. Like it looked like it came out King of Fighters 14 looked like it came out in 2006, and that's bad. It's really bad. But Samurai Showdown already showed that they know what they're doing for visuals. They vastly improved. Sam Show looks great. It looks phenomenal. Far better than KO 14, and that's not really saying much. But that's it with that, man. Fighting games are back, I guess. And then I guess they've been back since Street Fighter 4 in 2008, but ones that I care about are back. And that was one subject I wanted to get off the table. But the main subject I was going to get to today, as far as like just talking, was the backlog of games. How many of you get people who play games like more than casually have a medium to large size backlog? I have a gigantic backlog. Even some games that came out like a few months ago that I just haven't started, and I probably won't start for a long time. Like, for example, I want to start Mega Man 11. I played Mega Man 11 before it even came out officially. I went to E3 last year, played it, waited 3 hours in line to play Mega Man 11. It's awesome. I bought the game when it came out. I played the prologue stage, and then that was it. Some other stuff came out, and I just never got around to it. But I need to get to that. I have Yakuza 0 and I have Yakuza Kiwami. I've had those games for about a year and a half now. I've never started them. Just need to. Same thing with the Fist of the North Star game that runs on the same engine. I have that game. I've had it since it came out. I just never started it. But let's talk about, like when we get back, I'm actually gonna play some music, I swear. When I come back, let's actually talk about trying to manage your game backlog and what games you hold priority over when you decide to start playing them. Because like I already see some games are going to start being put by the wayside now that I have my grad school is starting up again next week, so that's going to take up a lot of my time too. And I have Fire Emblem Three Houses, which is like a 200-hour game, and I have Marvel Alliance 3, which is not as long as Fire Emblem, obviously, but it's also time consuming, so I have to figure out what I'm going to do. I don't know. Let's play some music now. So I'll stop rambling for a little bit. I'm going to play 4 songs in a row. I started looking at Tetris music. Because I still play Tetris 99 like every so often when I just don't feel like... Something when I just kind of want to turn my brain off a little bit and just do stuff. Tetris 99 is that don't think about it, just stack blocks game for me. Even though I'm so bad at it. I've never even won a game. The closest I ever got was I got 10th once. That was the highest I ever got. But Tetris has literally been on everything, and there's a lot of Tetris songs. You know, like I recently played Tetris 2 on the original Game Boy. I didn't know that existed until maybe about a couple months ago. But like, I remember playing Tetris, the original, well, not the original Tetris, but like the first Tetris on NES, I guess, which isn't the original one, but it's an early one. I remember liking Music 3 from that game a lot, and I remember liking, for Tetris 2, I remember liking Music A, which I guess is the first song, whatever. I like those. So I'm going to play those. Music 3 from Tetris 1, and Music A from Tetris 2. And I also went back to the Sonic CD soundtracks, because there's 2 different ones. There's the US version, which has its own aesthetic as far as musically concerned. It has more of a Saturday morning cartoon vibe to it, as opposed to the Japanese version, which just sounds more like 90s jazzy. It sounds more like a Sonic game than the US one does, but I like them both. They're both really solid. So I'm gonna pick 2 songs from the same zone from both versions of the game, but it's just to compare and contrast. I'm gonna play the US version of Tidal Tempest Zone, and then the Japanese/European version of that same stage afterwards, just so you can hear like how different they really are. So Tetris 1 Music 3, Tetris 2 Music A, and then Tidal Tempest Zone from Sonic CD, the English and then the Japanese/European version. See, it's hard to say which one of those is better, because I actually like them both. When I was younger, I immediately just, since I was such a weeb, I immediately gravitated towards the Japanese version of Sonic CD being the better version of the soundtrack. But like, I think some of the US ones are really good too, upon listening to them again. I mean, it's hard to say. Like, there's pros and cons with each side. Like, Sonic Boom, which is the US opening, is far and beyond way better than Toot Toot Sonic Warrior. Sorry, that song sucks. Inversely, the Japanese version's boss theme is way better than the US one's. Like, I love Work That Sucker to Death. That's not the name of the song, but that's what they say in the refrain of it. So that's what I've been calling it for the past few years. That's way better than the generic one that the US version has. But like I said, like, it's give or take. I wish that in the remastered version, because it was a remastered, would you call it remastered? But that really good port of Sonic CD that came out for 360 and PS3, that's the best version of Sonic CD, by the way. In that game, you could choose whether you played with the Japanese soundtrack or the US soundtrack. But what I kind of would have preferred is that you could change the soundtrack depending on the zone and like whatever the theme was. Kind of like in a wrestling game where you can put songs wherever you want to. Kind of like that, where like I would pick certain zones, I would pick the US versions, and other zones I'd pick the Japanese versions. And the boss theme, like for the opening, I'd pick the US one, and then for the boss theme, I'd pick the Japanese one. But like I would just mix and match all over the place. But that would have been too much work, and I understand why that would be unnecessary, honestly. But point is, Japanese Sonic CD is great. US Sonic CD is great. They're both great. It's a super underrated game. The only thing I don't really like about Sonic CD is that bonus stage, that UFO crap. I think that's stupid. I hate it. It doesn't control well. It hasn't aged. It's stupid. But then I'm the worst person to ask about that, because I think all Sonic I think all Sonic bonus stages aren't great inherently. I don't think the one from Sonic 1 is okay, but that's it. The bonus stage of Sonic 1, that's okay. I don't think the 3D collect all the rings thing from Sonic 2 is that good. I don't think it's aged very well. Same thing with Blue Spheres. I don't think Blue Spheres is good either. I don't think that's very good. Don't even get me started on that shit from Sonic 3D Blast. That's really bad too. The one from Sonic Mania is also okay. I think that one's tolerable at best. I mean, that's the one that I actually don't hate. But let's get back to the subject of games that you haven't played, or specifically I haven't. I bought when they came out, but just never touched them. I talked about the Yakuza games. I talked about the Fist of North Star game. I talked about Mega Man 11. Let's see, like after the Switch came out, I had a handful of 3DS games that I never started. Like let me backtrack a little bit. I got into Dragon Quest as the franchise way later than everyone else. Like my first real exposure to Dragon Quest was 11. It was Heroes 1, Dragon Quest Heroes 1, and that came out in, I want to say it was either 2015 or 2016 when that came out. It's basically it's a Dynasty Warriors game, but with a Dragon Quest skin on it. It's probably one of my a buddy of mine from an old job, like an old coworker from an old job, let me borrow the game for like a few days, and I was hooked. I was like immediately in, because I already liked the Dynasty Warriors format. It's basically the natural evolution of the beat 'em up, in my opinion. That's where 2D beat 'em ups have evolve into the Musou game, basically. But I think Dragon Quest Heroes is like one of the best spin-off ones. I like it more than Hyrule Warriors. I like it more than Fire Emblem Warriors. I like it more than what's that other one? The Fist of North Star one. That's not saying much because I think that one was bad. I like it more than the One Piece one. Even though I really liked the One Piece one, I thought that one was really well done. But I think Dragon Quest Heroes is probably my favorite of those games. Of the spin-offs, the non-Romance of the Three Kingdoms, non-feudal Japan ones. I think Dragon Quest Heroes is definitely my favorite one. I got like entranced in that world, and I really like the characters from all Dragon Quest universes. Point is, I started to get into it. Like I went on eBay and I bought Dragon Quest 8 on PS2, and then eventually I'll get to that too. I have a bunch of games from previous generations that I bought and never touched afterwards. I bought both like not too long ago, probably like a year or two ago. Dragon Quest 7 and 8 both came out on the 3DS. They got 3DS ports. I bought Dragon Quest 7 on 3DS, but this is like after the Switch came out, so no one's talking about 3DS anymore. Which kind of sucks because like I was kind of hoping that they would like legally make there a way for you to plug your 3DS to your PC so you can stream 3DS games. I'd love to stream 3DS games because I think 3DS had like 3DS is like probably the best handheld ever, I think. I'm not counting the Switch because it's kind of both, but like as far as like standalone handhelds, I think 3DS might be the best one of all time in my opinion. Second to before the 3DS came out, my favorite was probably the GBA, because GBA was just like, to me, it was like the predecessor to the Super Nintendo. It was like a lot of like really well done high end 2D games came out on the GBA, and I think that was just like Fire Emblem got its start on the GBA, at least in North America it did anyway, not in Japan. In Japan it was been out since the Famicom. Anyway, Fire Emblem got its US start on the GBA. I first got into Advance Wars because of that. Like, there's a lot of like really good licensed games too. Like some of those Dragon Ball Z games were actually really good on the GBA. Like, not Legacy of Goku. I'm not talking about that crap. All that shovelware trash. I'm not talking about Taiketsu either. I'm talking about like Supersonic Warriors is really good. Like that and because it was an Arc Sys game, believe it or not. It was like actually the first Dragon Ball Arc Sys game, probably like 2 decades before Dragon Ball FighterZ came out. That was really good. Dragon Ball Advanced Adventure was really good. It was probably one of like 3 Dragon Ball games, not Dragon Ball Z, but one of the few Dragon Ball games, and like the sprite work is phenomenal in that game. It's like a beat 'em up / platformer. It's awesome. I would love to like let's play some games on the 3DS. Like I love the Project Cross Zone games get a lot of slack from people, and like I admit the games are super repetitive. I understand that, like, but I really really enjoy those games. Like I think like more so Namco Cross Capcom, which is an import, so you need to either have a flip top PS2 or just you'd have to emulate it to play that. I think that game's really well done, and I think Cross Zone 2 specifically is also really well done. Cross Zone 1 wasn't that, out of the 3 is probably the worst of the 3. Because I think it overstays its welcome. It goes on way too long, and a lot of the characters they added into the Cross Zone 1 weren't that cool, and a lot of the interactions weren't that great. And I didn't like the 2 new characters they made as the star characters, the main protagonists of the game. I love Reiji and Xiaomu from Namco Cross Capcom and Project Cross Zone 1, but I did not like those other 2 characters that were in Cross Zone 1. Even though, despite the fact that Reiji and Xiaomu were in Cross Zone 1, but they weren't the center characters in it. But like those 2 new characters, I don't remember their names anymore. I believe it was Kogoro and Mi. I think those are the characters' names. I'll have to correct myself in post, but I didn't like Cross Zone 1 was meh. But I would love to like stream those games. I'd love to stream maybe not Fire Emblem. I have every Fire Emblem game that was released in North America except 1, by the way. I liked Awakening. It was fine. It had some of the best characters. Awakening has some of the best Fire Emblem characters, period. I'll say that off the bat. As a Fire Emblem fan, I really liked Awakening's cast, but I think the game was just alright. I didn't like, I was okay with the whole, shipping, making babies mechanic. Like, a lot of people hated it. It was in 2 camps. A lot of people who didn't play the older Fire Emblems loved it, and people who did play the old, like the OGs who played like the old Super Famicom and Famicom Fire Emblems hated that. I was kind of in the middle. I was like, I could do without it, honestly, but I don't mind it. It's fine. It's okay. I like Awakening. I really enjoyed Fates, even though I thought it was really shitty that they released it as 3 different games. Well, 2 technically, and the third one became a digital game unless you bought the collector's edition that had all three of them on one cartridge. But like, I thought that was kind of gross, even for Fire Emblem. Like, come on, don't go the Pokemon route. That's really gross. But I enjoyed Awakening, especially. I only played through the game once. I didn't need to play through the other two campaigns because I realized that at the end of the day they're all the same campaign, and the story didn't really change depending on which side you picked, because the outcome would be the same at the end of the game. Because I played through the entire game of Fates as Hoshido, and then I watched on YouTube the ending of Nor, which is more or less the same thing, and then the neutral path, which, like I said, the ending's the same practically. So I thought that was really a waste of time. And but as far as Fire Emblem games are concerned, I think I liked Echoes a lot. Like Echo, which is a remake of Fire Emblem 2, but I thought that was really well done. It was probably one of my favorite games on the 3DS. I thought it was really, really underrated because like it wasn't really advertised that much. It just kind of came out. Like, I remember there was one like half-hour long direct about it, and then it just came out like maybe the following month, and then no one talked about it after it came out. It really sucks. I think it's because it came out like maybe a few months before the Switch came out. The Switch was released, so it kind of got swept under the rug, which sucks. Is like I said, like 3DS got a raw deal when the Switch came out. I'd love to like either have some sort of like 3DS backwards compatibility with the Switch or something, because I feel it's really shitty how just like 3DS just kind of like got buried when the Switch came out. I mean, because it kind of invalidated it, but at the same time, it's like there should be some sort of way I can play my 3DS games on the Switch or something. I'll even depending on the game, I'll even rebuy some of those games if they're on the eShop or whatever. I don't care. I just want to play them again. I was supposed to be talking about my backlog. I guess I sort of did, but I'll try to go in more detail about it after I play a few more songs. Let's talk about what do we got on the docket as far as the rest of these songs. Speaking of Dragon Quest, I noticed that like going back, I realized that a lot of the Dragon Quest games, the older ones, like the 2D top-down ones, were actually ported to America like years later. Because I know 4, 5, and 6 were all released on the DS. And I didn't know that until a while ago. 8 was on the 7 was on the PS1, but it got a 3DS port later on. Same thing with 8 was on PS2, and it got a 3DS port later on. And 9, I believe, was also on DS. 9 was also on DS, I believe. 10 was the MMO that never came out in America. That's fine, because I'm not big on MMOs anyway. You know, the protagonist of that game looks cool, but like whatever. 11 came out on PS4, and I love that game. It was my favorite game of was it last year? Yeah, last year. Dated podcast immediately. Anyway, it was my favorite. Dragon Quest 11 was my favorite game of last year. I love that game. I put about 130 hours into that game. It was just like super good. I love the characters. I love the universe. I love the old school turn-based JRPG style. It felt like a game from the PS2 era, but I was playing it in 2019 on PS4. It was great. But the point is, Dragon Quest has really good music. A lot of their songs get, for whatever reason, and there was a reason, but a lot of those games, when they come to America, they don't get the orchestral soundtracks. They just get like synthesized stuff, which is, to me, is fine, but like it is kind of night and day. The orchestral score is usually far and beyond the synthesized stuff that we get over here. But I do like the song Saints Wreath, whatever. It's a really serene song from. It was originally from Dragon Quest 6, but I remember hearing it in Dragon Quest 11. It's definitely in that game. There's a lot of songs that get recycled from in every Dragon Quest game. There's like 5 or 6 that are in every game, but like specifically that song from 6, I really like, and I'm gonna play that. I'm gonna play Ice Place, which is a song from King of Fighters 2000. King of Fighters 2000 is not a great game. The art's really good, the music's really good, mechanically it's busted as all hell, but it has some noteworthy things in it. Like that was the debut of Kula. A lot of people like that character. I quite frankly can't stand her. But she made her debut in that game, and her song "Ice Place" is really, really good. That's the stage is really good. It was like a factory, and everything's frozen. I thought it was really cool, and the song is really awesome too. I'm gonna play that. And on the channel, I released a video where we played Vectorman 1. It was just basically a quick look at it. We played the original was it Vectorman 1 or 2? I think it was 2 actually, but besides the point, we played we went back to Vectorman. I didn't really play that game when I was younger because I was more of a, like I said, I probably mentioned this in earlier podcasts, but I didn't really take part in the console war because I had both a SNES and a Genesis because I was a spoiled ass kid when I was younger. I had both, but I guess I could be partial to the Super Nintendo because I played it more than I played my Genesis. I played my Genesis primarily for Sonic and Streets of Rage and Shinobi, and that was probably it. Oh, and their version of Mortal Kombat 2 was better because it had blood in the SNES version. Their version of MK1 had blood. MK2, both versions had blood. Both the SNES and the Genesis version had blood. That's the point. Vectorman 1, the song is called Terraport, Day 1, because each stage is like is a day, whatever. But it's really cool. So I'm going to play those 3 songs in a row. I'm going to play Dragon Quest 6, Saints Wreath. I'm probably mispronouncing that. King of Fighters 2000, Ice Place, and Terraport from Vectorman. Right now. That's by far the best song in that game. That's probably not true, but it's my favorite song in that game. Like I said, I never really got into Vectorman when I was younger. I always looked at it as like, it was this weird like Mega Man, not Mega Man thing. But Vectorman's rad. I'm just bad at it. The game's super unique, and I'm just kind of sad that it's another 16-bit platformer mascot that will just vanish to the wayside like so many others, which kind of sucks. But I remember during the PS2 era, there was a period where Vectorman was gonna come back, and it looked like it was like had this gritty, edgy reboot where he's like a dark apocalyptic, like a dark robot from the new apocalyptic future, and it was gonna be like this weird first-person shooter. And I'm kind of glad that didn't happen, but like for that fleeting moment, Vectorman almost came back, but just wasn't meant to be. So now Vectorman lives on in just countless Sega Genesis collections, and the Genesis Minis coming out soon, and I couldn't be any less enthusiastic about it. Okay, I'm a little curious, but at the same time, it's like, if we didn't have all these Genesis collections that have been coming out since like the PS2, GameCube, Xbox era, I probably would have been more keen on hopping on it initially, but we've played so many of those games several times already. It's like I'm tired of playing Sonic 2. I'm tired of playing the Streets of Rage trilogy, even though I'm gonna play that later for a Let's Play. And I'm tired of looking at Vectorman. I mean, like Dynamite Heady's on there. That's kind of a big deal, I think, because that's a super rare game. I believe Rystar is on that collection too. That's a good get, because like that game doesn't get released like that often either. I think that's it for the Genesis collection. Like, as far as like Genesis games that I'd really want, a lot of them ones I would want are third party. So, and Sega doesn't seem too keen on getting third parties involved with their little collection. Like, Nintendo doesn't mind calling out to like Konami and Square-Enix and Capcom to get their like third party stuff on board. But like, same thing with PlayStation, when even though that was their underwhelming PlayStation Classic came out, PS1 Classic came out, and it was garbage, but at least like third parties were on board. Like, for Sega, it's just all Genesis. It's just all Sega of Japan or Sega of America stuff. There's no third parties on there from what I saw anyway. Unless you count Treasure, which I do and I don't count, because like Dynamite Heady and what's that other game? Gunstar Heroes, they were second party, because Treasure at the time, like at least in the early 90s, they only made stuff they only produced games with Sega. So like, there was primarily just Genesis and Sega CD and Saturn stuff. But let's get back to the subject of Backlog. I'm not really in a position to like not necessarily judge, but like tell people how they should like manage their game library and choose which games you actually want to start playing. Because like, some people just buy games just to collect them, so people don't really play them. But like, a lot of the games I bought, I bought with the intention of playing and finishing them. Like, for example, for the Switch, I have a couple of games that I haven't even started, or I started for a little while and then I jumped to something else. Like the Shining Force side game, which I believe is a side game. I'm not super big on the Shining franchise, so I don't really know, but I can't speak like I'm an authority on it. But Shining Resonance Refrain is cool. I like that game. I bought the Switch version, and I remember playing that game back at E3 again. E3 last year, I played that for a little bit, and I liked it. I like it so far. But I think when around that same time, I think Dragon Quest XI came out and Spider-Man on PS4 came out, and those games took a lot of my time, especially Dragon Quest. I was on Dragon Quest for about 2.5, 3 months maybe, but and I was playing, before those games came out, I was playing Shining Resonance Reframe, and I enjoyed it for what it was. There was a little bit of slowdown on the Switch version from what I noticed, but I got at least like maybe 5 hours into it, and I was liking it, even though it was super generic plot and like very anime tropey, but I still enjoy that type of thing. So I liked it, but then I got sidetracked and started playing other stuff. Same thing with well, not the same thing. I never really got into the Ys franchise. Y''S for people who are curious. But Ys 8 got a lot of acclaim from what I saw when it came out. Like, a lot of people, like, especially the PC version and the PS4 version, got a lot of like praise. So when the Switch port came out, I bought it, and then it just kind of sat there because I never actually started it. I got my points off it. I got my little eShop points. But that's the extent of what I used that game for, because I never actually started it. Never played. It's still on my shelf, just collecting dust there, just chilling. Never started it. And that's the extent of that. Like I said, I never actually started it. I want to start it, but I just hadn't. And then there's a few other games probably on PS4 of the same thing. I just had a few games, never started them. I already talked about the Yakuza games that I have that I've been meaning to start, and it's a lot of platformers and JRPGs that have come out, and I've bought. Even in some cases, I've bought them multiple times and never really dug deep into them. Like, I've always been. We're going back to Falcom, who also did. I believe Falcom did the Ys 8, that port of Ys 8. I believe that's them. Ys and the Trial series, like Trials of the Sky and Trials of Cold Steel, and is it Trails or is it Trials? think it's Trails. I've been not pronouncing this wrong this whole time. It's Trails of Cold Steel and Trails of the Trial, whatever, those games. I have Trails of the Sky, one of them, and I also have... I bought Trails of the... I cannot pronounce this damn title. I have Trails of the Sky, like, not Trails of the Sky. I have Trails of Cold Steel 1, because there's like 3, I think 4 of them now, out in Japan at least. I have the first game on both PS3, and I have the Steam version as well, the PC version. I actually dug into excuse me. I dug into the, what is it? PS3 version for about, I got at least 10 hours in. And then eventually I just stopped playing it, or I got sidetracked by other games, which is normally what happens. And then a remaster came out, which is the PC one that I was talking about, the Steam version. That was supposed to be like a remaster, I guess. And now they announced, like, not maybe a few months ago, that there's going to be a PS4 remaster of the first 2 games. And I didn't even finish the first one. Now that they're remastering the second one. Jeez. So, here's what I recommend for people who have my problem and constantly are buying games, old and new, and just can't decide on which ones to play. Like, try to, like, at least have 2 that you jump back and forth from before you decide to buy another... Especially if it's a huge 100-hour epic, like really long drawn out story. I suggest playing only, if you're gonna jump back and forth, have only 2 games that you jump back and forth from. For example, right now I'm playing Fire Emblem 3 Houses and I'm playing Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3. I'm jumping back and forth between those games. I'm probably gonna finish Ultimate Alliance 3 first because I'm almost positive it's the shorter game out of the 2, because I know. With 3 Houses, it's doing the Fates thing again, where there's like 3 different campaigns, and like they want you to play through all 3 campaigns, and like combined, it's probably gonna be like 200 hours of gameplay or whatever. I'm gonna beat Fire Emblem 3 Houses at least once, and then like see how I feel about starting it up again a 3rd time. Hopefully they allow you to, like, you probably won't keep your EXP from the second playthroughs or whatever, but that's a long game. So and that's why I wanted to have, like, I try to have at least a second game to jump back and forth from, so I don't get burnt out of that one game. That's kind of what happens. That's kind of what happens to me with fighting games. That's why I try to have, like, multiple ones that I jump around, so I don't get super bored and burnt out. I don't get super bored and burned out from that one game. So try to have a little bit of variety, so you can jump back and forth, and try not to, like. Well, I can't really tell you what you do, tell you how you spend your gaming habits, but, like, I try not to binge super hard on a game. Like, the most these days, I'm a 30-year-old man, so I try not to sit down and binge too long. Like, the longest I'll binge one game will probably be, like, these days is like 4 to 5 hours. When I was a teenager in, like, early 20s, I could do like straight up 10 and 15 and 20 hour sessions of one game. I can't really do that anymore because I have so many other things on my plate now. But, like, I think a good time for, like, at least for me, is like between the, like, 4 to 5 hours on one thing is pretty much the best I can do now. Unless I have, like, unless I'm on, like, on a vacation, or I have, like, a lot of personal time off from work, I can do, like, maybe 10. But even then, I run a Let's Play channel. I do this. I stream. Like, I try to, like, section out my time. This turned into instead of managing your game backlog, this turned into a time management podcast out of nowhere. But that's basically what it's more or less the same, right? They fall in the same category. So basically, I was, like, for every game, I try to have at least a second game that I can jump over towards, just to have a palate cleanser from the previous game. Not to say that the previous game is bad, it's just I try to have a change of scenery, just have a little variety, so I don't, like, get so bored of that game so easily. But that's just what I do personally. So I can't really tell you guys how to play or whatever. The next 3 songs are from the same game. Not only is my backlog long, but I have a wish list that's huge too. And one of the games that I've always... This is a game that came out probably like maybe 3 or 4 years ago now, but I've always been super interested in it just because of the aesthetic and like the character designs and stuff. It's a game called Valhalla. And by Valhalla, it's VA-11 Hall-A. It's like a... What do they call it? I'm going to look it up right now live on the podcast. They call it a... It's a bartending game, but it takes place in like a super neon 80s future aesthetic, but it's a bartending game in the cyber future, I'll call it. It has and there's like the obligatory like super anime girls in it, and like I like it. I haven't played it, but I've seen bits and pieces of gameplay, and I love that aesthetic. I love that the 80s cyberpunk universe. That's just kind of one of my settings that I really like. And the soundtrack just blows me away. It's really good. Like, you'll hear it in a second, because I tried to section it down to having play 2 songs, but like there's 3 that I've really like, and I'm gonna play all 3 of them in a row. It's Every Day is Night, then Neon District, then Karmotrine Dream. Those are the 3 songs that I really like from that game, so I'm gonna play all 3 of them in a row. From Valhalla, an indie. What is it? How can I describe this game? An indie cybernetic bartending game. I don't know how else to talk about it. Like, look it up. I just recommend checking it out. It looks really cool. I think there should be more unique games like this, but there aren't any these days, unfortunately. But check those songs out. Check that game out. I'm going to play those 3 songs now. Valhalla is one of those games that I've never actually like I've only seen like bits and pieces of it, and I've never really like had any real exposure to the game outside of like Twitter and YouTube. But like, it's one of those games that I hear the soundtrack and I immediately want to play it. It's kind of like how that same thing happened to me with excuse me, same thing happened to me with Street Fighter EX 2 Plus. It was just the Street Fighter EX games in general. I heard the music from those games before I actually played them, so like then that made me want to play them even more. Same thing with what it happened with another game too. Like what was it? Bomberman Hero. I heard the soundtrack to that game before I actually played it, and that made me want to play it. I feel like music can be a really good motivator to get you to play a game that you had no interest in prior. So, but like actually. Send me comments on that. Like, what game did you guys hear the music from, and the soundtrack made you want to play the game? I have a list of those. That could be an episode unto itself, honestly, and hopefully it would come out before 2020. Anyway, we were talking about managing your backlog. I pretty much said everything I needed to say on that, but what else is there to talk about? Let's backlog. I have more games in my backlog from previous generations too. Like I bought The Last Story. It was one of the 3 Operation Rainfall games that almost didn't come out, but then like people petitioned and they finally decided to release it. It was Xenoblade Chronicles and it was Pandora's Tower. I still don't have that game. I'm interested in that game too, but I don't have it. And The Last Story, I actually have The Last Story on Wii. Never turned it on. Never put the disc in. Never did any of that stuff. I do have the game though. Same thing with Mad World. I have Mad World. I never started it. It's not inspiration. The catalyst to get me to buy Mad World was I did play Anarchy Reigns, which I guess is like, I don't know if it's a sequel to Mad World. It's more like it's a different story that takes place in the same universe with the same characters from some of the same characters from Mad World. It takes place in the Mad World universe. But Anarchy Reigns, I really enjoyed that game, even though it was like probably one of Platinum's like least successful Games' least successful game ever was Anarchy Reigns. But I really enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. I thought that was like the catalyst of what a Power Stone Online game should be like. But I digress. The game's dead now, even though I thought it was really fun and unique. But I bought Mad World off the fact that it took place in the same universe as Anarchy Reigns, and I was like, I never actually started it. And like, I know the whole game the whole game, the aesthetic style is in like black and white, and I thought that was really interesting. But like, bought it, never started it, still on my shelf. I might let's play it one day. I don't know. I'm literally just looking at my shelf now and looking at all the games that I've either started and just started, maybe played for like an hour or two, then never finished or never started at all. Like, who remembers Radiata Stories? That was a PS2 JRPG made by Tri-Ace, the Star Ocean people. It had a really I don't know if it was like this in the Japanese version, but like I know the dub it had this really like goofy comedy aesthetic that I wasn't really like. Not that I didn't like it. It was just all it was just weird. I wasn't really expecting it. Like a lot of the characters had these really goofy quips and one-liners, and I think there might have been in certain parts of the game there might have been a laugh track in it. Like it was just odd. I had that game. I got like 5 hours in maybe, and I guess I just stopped playing, or either a new game came out, like, which is usually the reason I stopped playing anything, is because something else came out and made me decide to jump to that instead. But that was another game, Radiata Stories, and I also have Wild Arms, the Wild Arms series. I have 3 of the 5 Wild Arms games. I specifically have all the PS2 ones. I have Wild Arms 3, 4, and 5, and I remember people praising 3. A lot of people really liked 3, and for whatever, and I know the games aren't connected, so that's why I didn't like go 3, 4, 5. I actually went initially with 5 because I remember seeing cutscenes of 5, and I think a buddy of mine had Wild Arms 5, and I just like, like, wow, this is cool. It looks really cool. And there's like team specials and stuff. It's really awesome. And then I just bought it. And I got not super far, but I maybe like 10 hours into Wild Arms 5. And I just, again, stopped playing for whatever reason. And a lot of the JRPGs that I started, a lot of the lesser celebrated JRPGs that I just started and stopped playing were because something else came out. There's a lot, like, I know Sonic Colors. I have Sonic Colors on the Wii. I know that's a good game. And I'm pretty sure I've even seen the ending, but I just never actually like finished it myself. I think I saw the ending online or somebody showed me it, and that made me kind of not want to finish it after a while. Because like when I get shown the ending to a game, and that kind of like kills my incentive to play it right then and there, because I'm like, oh, that's how it ends. Like, okay, sure, whatever. There's literally a laundry list of these games that I have that I started halfway through or just didn't really finish. Like, I'm still looking at my backlog, guys. I'm looking at the shelf right now. Suikoden 3. I don't know why I have that, honestly. I didn't like it, to be honest. Like, I know that the universal favorite is 2. Everyone loves Suikoden 2, and people say Suikoden 2 is like one of the best PS1 JRPGs, one of the best JRPGs ever made, blah, blah, blah. I never played it. Like, the local game store that I worked at, it was like a mom and pop game store that I worked at about 5 or 6 years ago. And they had Suikoden 3. I was like, I'll buy Suikoden 3. Sure. And I didn't like it at all. So it was like, I don't know why I even still have it, to be honest. But yeah, it's there. I guess that was the resounding opinion online. Like, 3 is not 2 at all. And there's some, and then there's like the opposite thing where I have some games that are bad, and I played through them completely. Like I have Mega Man X7, which is the worst Mega Man X game by far. The dialogue's bad. The music's pretty good. That's the one plus about Mega Man X7. I might play Mega Man X7 music on a sound test episode one day, but the perspective's weird because it's like in a pseudo 3D and it looks weird, and like the voice acting, the English voice acting is really bad. Like, I know it's not like, not even like Mega Man X4 or Mega Man 8 charming bad. It's just stupid and just weird and off. It's terrible, and the game controls bad, and it's just like, ugh. And it slows down. I regret buying that game every day, but I still have it and looking at it right now, and I have it. And I 100%ed that game too. I did everything there was to do. I found all the. That was a game where you, like, there were captives. Like, Sigma would capture these rogue robots and hold them captive. You could rescue all of them. I rescued all of them. I think there was like 50 in the game you could rescue. I rescued all of them. I got all the armor for X in the game. I think Zero had some alternate thing in the game, and I got all that crap. I 100%ed a bad game. I guess I hate myself or something. I just like punishing myself, but I did everything there was to do in that shitty game. Like, I did. I don't know why, looking back. Like, what else? Shinobi PS2. That game's not bad. I actually really enjoy that game. That game's super hard. But I eventually 100%ed that game. It took a really long time to do that. So that's not a game that I ditched after playing for a little while. I actually did everything there was to do in that game. Same with X7. Urban Reign is another game that I started and never finished. But like that was the type of game where it's like my buddies and I would meet up and play that game all the time as a 4-player brawler beat 'em up thing. It was fun. I liked it. But I knew there was a story mode, but I never actually started the story mode. I know you need to, like, well, initially I thought you needed to beat the story mode to get all the main hidden stuff, because there's a lot of hidden crap in that game. But, luckily for a game like that, there was a cheat to unlock everything. Remember cheats? Does anyone remember cheats? No. DLC is now, there's the thing now? Yeah, of course. But, like, there was a code to unlock everything. Naturally, it wouldn't save when you turn the game off, but like that was a good way to have, like, as my friend called it, fun out of the box, where you don't have to play through an extensive story mode to get all the stuff. You just do the cheat, so you have all the stuff automatically, so you can just play everything. yeah, but that I never actually started the story mode of that game. I would like to someday for an LP. That's just this entire podcast is just gonna be me talking about Let's Plays that I would like to start at some point, and maybe I will, maybe I won't. Who knows? There's a few other games. I'm not gonna tell you guys heads off about talking about games that I don't start. Like I bought like. I'm a big fan of the Sengoku Basara series, and I have 3. I believe I finished 3. I'm not sure. It's been so long. But I remember 4, the sequel came out in Japan only. And I bought it. I imported it. Despite the fact I can't understand anything. Because it's a Japanese game, and in the 2 times that Capcom brought Basara over here trying to like see how it would do with Western audiences and bombed both times, so like there's no reason to bring them over. But like I bought Basara 4 and I played it for about 10 minutes. Like, yup, this is more Basara. And not to say that's bad, it's just I never got around to finishing it because I needed like game facts or literally a YouTube video showing me like maybe there's an English patch. Maybe somebody hacked their PS3 and they can play the game in English. Maybe there's a fan dub, not fan dub. Maybe there's a fan subgroup for the game who translated it to English. I don't know. Excuse me, I don't know. I would like to play more Basara 4. I have it, but I just don't want to play through an entire Musou game in Japanese. What else is there? There's a PS2 game called Mad Maestro, which is a rhythm game. I don't know why I have that. I've never been super big into rhythm games, but I think I liked it because it was done by Fresh Games. It was the same guys who did, same people. I think it was the same team who worked on Gitaru Man and like these other like really nuanced, weird games. And I think that's probably why I got it. But I don't remember buying it at all, which is really strange. Now I'm looking at the Wii U section. I think every game that I have on Wii U that I've completed. I don't have that many Wii U games either. So I think I have like, let's count it. 3, 6, 10. I have 10 Wii U games. Well, at least physical Wii U games. I have 10. I think those are the only ones that are worth it too. even that's debatable because I think that was like, I don't need Mario Tennis Ultra Smash. That game was a dumpster fire. Same thing with Yoshi's Woolly World. I'm kind of like indifferent towards that game. I was like, I know a lot of people were in love with the Nintendo's like whole kick on like, let's just take this platform and make a woolly version, a wool version. I'm like, yeah, they did with Kirby and they did with Yoshi, and I'm like, that's fine. I guess it's very gimmicky, and I didn't care for it too much. Tokyo Mirage Sessions, I started that game, and I think the aesthetic just didn't work for me. It was like Persona, but it was like really bright Persona, and I was like, it's really bubbly, and it's the J-pop anime aesthetic that I do like. The characters just felt really bland to me, and I think that was probably why I didn't really finish it. Then I watched a Let's Play of the entire game, so now I don't feel like I need to play it at all now. So there's that. I know like I own a lot of collections. Like I bought like the Devil May Cry HD collection twice because it was released twice. I own those games 3 times over actually because I have the PS2 versions of 1 through 3 and the special edition on PS2. Then I bought the HD collection on PS3. Then I bought the HD collection again on PS4. So like I own those games probably like I own Devil May Cry 1 3 times. Same thing with 2 and 3. Which is wild. I also bought there's a Ratchet and Clank collection that came out for PS3. Never started that either. Just have it. I just have them. I know there was a lot of those that came out. Like I know that in Japan there was a Basara collection that had for PS3 had 1, 2, and one of the expansions for 2 because 3 was already out and there was no point in releasing 3 on PS3 again. It'd be pointless. I know I had the God of War trilogy for a little while. I played the first game, the remake of the first game. Just straight up did not play 2 or 3. I kind of 2 or what 3 wasn't out, so it couldn't have been that. I don't remember what, there was 3 games on the God of War collection. I don't remember what the third one was. I think it was like Chains of Olympus or something. It was like a prequel. I'm not sure. Somebody will correct me. But there was that. There's another one I'm looking at right now. Valkyria Chronicles. I have the PS3 version. Never finished it. Then I know an HD remake came out for Steam and PS4. I bought the PS4 version. Never started the PS4 version. I actually made it quite a ways into the PS3 version, and then I never finished it. Then the remake came out, and it's just on my hard drive on PS4. I never started it. So there's that. So basically, guys, the takeaway from this entire podcast is don't buy so many games if you know you're not going to finish them. That's my problem. I'm a Let's Player, and I try to justify buying them by saying, "Hey, I'll Let's Play them one day," but who knows if that'll ever happen, honestly. So I think I'm gonna wrap up with that. I'm gonna play the last 3 songs. I'm gonna link you guys to all my stuff, like youtube.com/CJBlogman. That's CJBLOGMAN. I run a Let's Play group called the Otaku Gamer Spot. We used to be a review site. We're not a review site anymore. Twitch.tv/Chazmosis. That's CHAZMOSIS. Just my name with Moses at the end of it. I stream. We're changing our stream schedule. We're gonna stream like once every month now, maybe once or twice a month now. We're gonna focus more on YouTube these days with more long playthroughs of games. We're trying to work things out. I have a few more new segments that I'm working on as well. So, and along with that and trying to post this show, the podcast more regularly, because I pay for all these podcast services and I don't do any podcasts, so it's kind of a waste of time. So I need to actually produce more episodes of this. So plus people like it and people are wondering where it was, so I'm bringing it to you again. So there's those. Do I have anything else to plug? There's the Twitter. You can follow me on Twitter, twitter.com/Chazmosis410. Same as the Twitch, but with a 410 at the end of it. You can follow the Facebook at just type in Otaku Gamer Spot in Facebook, and it should be in there, or just OG Spot in Facebook, and it should be one of the first things in there. Yeah, that's it. I'm gonna play the last 3 songs, and then yeah, we're just gonna close it out. From 3 songs. Here's something. 3 songs from 3 games I've never played. One is from Silent Hill 2. Gasp! I never played Silent Hill 2. Oh my god! I'm not super into survival horror, but I've always the story of Silent Hill always intrigued me. So I've never really played them. I know I like the story of 2 and 3, but I've never actually hands-on played those games. I watched Let's Plays. I listened to the soundtracks. Soundtracks are phenomenal. So I'm gonna play White Noise from Silent Hill 2. There's this super. I don't know how I can describe it. This again, it's that neon 80s aesthetic that I really like. It's this futuristic 80s aesthetic racing game called Neon Drive that I just heard of. It's been out for a while, but I only just heard of it maybe a few months ago. I'm gonna play a song from that called just Level 1 City. There's nothing, no complicated title there. And finally, The Legend of Zelda: The Minish Cap. I've always wanted to play those. I believe those are well, not Minish Cap. I'm thinking about Oracle of Ages and Seasons. But I've never played that. I believe it was, what was the Minish Cap on? I believe Minish Cap was a GBA game. It always looked interesting, but I never actually touched it. But the music in that is great. I'm gonna play the Minish Village song from that game. So Silent Hill 2, White Noise, Neon Drive, the first level, and then Minish Village from The Legend of Zelda: The Minish Cap, and then I'm gonna end it. I will see you guys hopefully in another month or so, not 6 or 7 months, not a year from now. Hopefully, I'm gonna be more consistent because I need to, because this is what I want to do. So I will see you guys next time. Here's more music.